Hi, I'm Brady, the Assistant Superintendent from the Nursery Golf and Country Club. In this video, I'll be showing you the irrigation install for the new tee box that's getting put in on number 2. I will get some help from my Superintendent, Braden, and I will also get some help from my grounds crew member, Elijah. In this video, we'll show you where the irrigation line is getting added in, and how we glued the PVC pipe together, and how we connected our pipe to our existing pipe, and how we put in our valve. Then I'll explain how a water hammer works and what we did to prevent water hammer. And then I'll show you what we did to fill in our trench. Alright then, hole 2 irrigation install. I'm going to show you where we're going to be putting in the new irrigation line. First off, I'll map out where the existing fairway irrigation line is that we'll be hooking up to, and it's all marked in red. The new irrigation line for the sprinkler heads will be placed on the left side of the tee box as if you were playing it. It's marked in blue. Now I'll show you where the valve box is going to be placed. It's marked as a square. It's a light blue. The valve that will be getting put in will be a Gatling valve. This will be how we'll be able to open up this valve for the water to get to the sprinkler heads, for the sprinkler heads to turn on. Then there will be 2 sprinkler heads placed on the tee box, one at the front and one at the back. And then that should be all we'll have left to do for the irrigation install. Now we can start digging. We'll be using our backhoe attachment for our Montana tractor for digging up the trench for our sprinkler heads and irrigation line and our valve box. Now that we have finished digging up the trench, we can start installing the irrigation pipe into our existing pipe. Now I will cut a piece of the pipe out where we're going to be connecting the new pipe to the existing irrigation line. Now that we have the pipe cut out, now we will file it down and clean it up so we can glue in their teeth. The reason for our process of filing it down is so that we can make it smaller so we can get it in the pipe farther, and so that the glue will stick better too, because the pipe will be much cleaner. We will also clean with a rag as well to make sure that all the dirt and any of the files are off the pipe to give it a good clean. The pipe in the ground will also get filed off and cleaned off where we'll be connecting our tee. Now that our pipe's all cleaned up, we can start gluing in our tee. First off, we're going to have to put some primer where the glue's going to be put on. We will then put primer on the inside of the tee, and then a coat of primer on the outside of the pipe, and then another coat of primer on the inside of the tee. Once we have a good even amount of primer inside of the tee and outside of the pipe, we can put the glue on. First off, we'll put glue inside of the T, and then glue on the outside of the pipe, and a little bit more glue on the inside of the T, just like we put the primer on the pipe and inside the T. Now that we have all the glue on, we're going to want to put it on very quickly because this glue does not take very long to dry. Also, when you're putting on the pipe, you're going to have to do a quarter turn. So if you're putting on a T, you're going to make sure that the end that you're adding in your new pipe is sticking up enough for you to make that quarter turn. So you can put the pipe on and everything's level and your pipe comes out the way you want it to come out. Now that we have our T held in place, we must make sure we hold it for additional 5 seconds because it's recommended to hold it in for additional 5 seconds, so we'll probably hold it for a little bit longer just to make sure it's perfect the way we want it to be. And perfect. Now we're going to see if that piece of pipe that we filed down later on in the video is the right size for us to connect it to our T to our existing pipe using our compression coupling. As it looks, it's a little too long, so we're going to have to cut a little off. They always say, better to measure long than to measure short, because you can always take a little off. Like before, we're going to have to file it off where we cut it, so it'll fit into the pipe just the way we want it to. For those of you who don't know, this is what a compression coupling looks like. With a compression coupling, there is no glue required. How it works is, there is an end cap, which is this. Then there's a rubber bushing, which is this, with a compression fitting in the middle, and has an end cap and a rubber bushing on the other side of the compression fitting. With the compression coupling, you're able to screw it in between two pipes using the two end caps, and having the two rubber bushing inside are able to be snug tight against the pipe so that none of the water leaks through. Before we glue in our pipe into our T, we're going to want to make sure that our compression coupling is put on properly on the pipe before gluing it in, or we'll have trouble putting our compression coupling in. First off, we'll put on our end cap on our existing pipe, and then our rubber bushing. Now we will make sure that there's an end cap on the pipe that we're putting in, plus with a rubber bushing, just like the other side, and we'll also put on our compression fitting as well on the pipe that's going to be put in. Now that all our end caps and rubber bushings and compression fittings are all put in place, we're ready to glue in our pipe into our T. Now we'll just look for a rock or a lump of clay so that the pipe is level with the other end of the pipe while we wait for the glue to dry. Now we're ready to start screwing in our compression coupling. First off, we're going to center our compression fitting and our rubber bushings so that our end caps and the whole compression coupling is all in the center of the two pipes. Now we're going to hand tighten our end caps. Now I'll just tighten up each end cap with the pipe wrench to make sure that they're not too loose but not too tight, because we don't want to strip the threads, and plus we want to make sure it's tight enough as well so that we don't get any leaks, so that our compression coupling doesn't come undone. Now we're ready to start gluing in our pipe towards our new T. First off, we had to cut a short piece of pipe for us to put in our 45-degree elbow, and it had to all line up perfect with our trench. And as it looks, our pipe is lined up perfect with the trench. Now I'm going to get the valve all set up so we can glue it in. What I will have to do is screw in our adapters. Before I screw in our adapter into our Gatling valve, I will have to put some Teflon tape around the threads. I will put the Teflon tape about 3 or 4 times around the threads. Once I'm done putting the Teflon tape on the adapter, I'm able to screw the adapter into the valve. The same process will happen to the other side of the Gatling valve as well. It's also important to mention that I put the Teflon tape clockwise, because if it's not on clockwise, your Teflon tape will not want to stay on the threads because you'll be going the opposite way of the Teflon tape, so it will want to spit right out. Just like that. Alrighty then, looks like our work is all done here, and we're ready to glue in our valve. Now I will glue in the valve. When the glue dries for the valve, it'll be time to put in the valve box. What I'm going to do is stick some 2x6s and 2x4s and screw them all together into the bottom of the hole so that the box will be level with the top of the ground. The reason why I'm using 2x4s and blocks of wood to hold up our valve box so that it stays level with the upper surface is that if you use clay or dirt, it will eventually settle down and the valve box will get lower, or it may get crooked and it won't be level. Whereas with blocks of wood, you can put more blocks of wood in to raise it. You can take one out to lower it. You can get a thinner piece of wood, maybe like a 1x4, and add that in so that it's perfectly level with the upper ground rather than having to use the clay or the dirt. And plus, the clay and the dirt will want to fall down towards the valve, covering it, and we don't want that to happen. Perfect. Nice and level, just the way we want it to be. There won't be any speed bumps on this one. While I was putting in the valve box and getting it level, the other guys are putting in some of the PVC pipe. They got all the way up to the first swing joint for the sprinkler head. We only have 2 more PVC pipes to glue in, then we'll be able to glue in our last swing joint for our last sprinkler head. We're now going to glue in our last swing joint. Now we'll glue our cap on our last piece. What the cap is a cover for the end of the PVC pipe so that the water doesn't come out. Just like a lid, kinda. Our footage wasn't very good of us putting the cap on, so I took a picture of it and put a red arrow pointing where the cap is so you know what the cap looks like. We will now glue in our last piece, and then that should be all the gluing that should need to be done for this project. Nice, we got all our PVC pipe all glued in, all installed. All we got left to do is get the trench all ready for it to get filled in. First thing we're going to do before we bury in our trench is we're going to put a concrete cylinder block where we think we might get water hammer. We'll put one where our 45 degree is, then we're going to put another concrete block where our dead end is, where we put the cap on. Well, you may be asking yourselves, what is water hammer and why are we putting those bricks in? Well, it's a preventative matter just in case something like this happens. How a water hammer works is when the pressure of the water keeps pushing up against the joint, like our cap at the end of our dead end. It may keep pushing up against it, and then eventually the cap may come undone. Whereas when we put that concrete cylinder block, it has something against it to help it hold in rather than just clay and dirt, because eventually clay and dirt will just keep pushing to the side. That's why we put the concrete brick in, for more of a preventative matter for that maybe happening in the future. We also did this to the 45 degree that we put in as well because we figured it might push off eventually too from pressure as well for another preventative matter. Well, we're ready to start filling in our trench. Before we started to fill in our trench with the tractor, we first did it by spade to make sure that we put all the fine dirt around the PVC pipe and made sure that there wasn't any rocks or anything hard to potentially crack the PVC pipe, causing a break in our irrigation line, which we don't want any breaks in our irrigation line. Then when we finished filling in the trench with the fine dirt with the spade shovels, we filled the rest in with the loader. Then once we finished filling in the trench, We roped it all off so no carts would drive through the mud and create mud tracks everywhere on the fairway, and marked it down as ground under repair. Alright then, I guess we're all done with our irrigation install. I'd like to thank the crew, and not just the crew that helped install the irrigation system, but also the guys that did the jobs that we couldn't do while we were digging the trench and putting in the irrigation. Thanks guys, and thanks viewers for watching this video.